So a big drama has been happening on Twitter about the server situation in the Australia, New Zealand, rest of Asia qualifier for the Dreamhack Masters tournament. Essentially, for those who aren't following, Risky, who is from the UK and lives in the UK but has a New Zealand passport citizenship, is eligible to play in the ANZ rest of Asia region. And so that's another side topic which I won't touch in this video. But what I will talk about is that in this case, as a player who is not living inside New Zealand, the rules made by ESL state that you are able to select your sub-region. So what that means is ESL's set up some regions. There's Southeast Asia, Southwest Asia, Northeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand. These are all sub-regions within that greater tournament hall, and those are used to decide what servers will be played. So if you have a Southeast Asian player versus an Australian player, what servers do we play? Do we play on Singapore, which is better for the Southeast Asian player? Do we play on Australia? Is it a mix? That's what this decides. Now, Risky selected Southwest Asia as his region because that gives him the biggest advantage. By picking Southwest Asia, whenever he plays against an opponent from Australia, or really anywhere for that matter, every game must be played on Singapore. That's the only server choice. And he's able to select that region because he is not living inside New Zealand, because he's abroad. So if I, as an Australian player, were living in Korea at the moment, I could select Southwest Asia and force every game to be Singapore as well. So it's not limited to Risky. Now, this is of note because I'm not aware of any player in the qualifier who is in this Southwest Asian sub-region. As far as I know, there's no one, but this is a side issue. So, I mean, from that point of view, I think we can all agree that this rule doesn't make sense. At the very least, Southwest Asia most likely probably shouldn't be a region. And then also the idea that you can move out of your current, how do I say? Like, you can move from, you could potentially get a server advantage by traveling out of your home country. So like if I, as an Australian, I might just move to Singapore for the week of the qualifier, put my region as Southwest Asia, play Singapore every game against all the Australian players. Well, I'll have next to no ping, almost zero, and they'll be forced to play with higher ping. And then you have a player like Blisk, for example, who lives in Singapore and is a Singaporean player who will have to play a game of Australian server. So that doesn't make sense. So you can see there's a problem in the rule set there, and that should be resolved 100%. But there's a big backlash against Risky for abusing this problem in the rules. And to me, this doesn't make sense. I think it's because people just don't like Risky or are angry that he's beating our best players and he's not from here. And people just generally are in this mood of being unhappy. Risky gets invited to the tournament. It comes up again. Oh, wow, how could you invite Risky? Risky uses the rules to get an advantageous situation. Oh my God, that's so unfair. I think even if it was Singapore, Australia, Singapore, there's a very good chance that people would still be mad, in my opinion, just because it's Risky. I mean, I might be wrong about that, and maybe people are just righteously mad if it was any other player. Like if it was me abusing this rule by playing from Singapore, which I fully respect. I fully respect a player to play within the rules. Every Southeast Asian player forced Singapore, Australia, Singapore, or some variant of that, like 2 Singapores to 1 Australian server, in every series they played against an Australian, every game. And if they should, it's the rules. They should do that. If we have a problem with that, you raise it with the rules. Many Australian players said, I don't think this is fair, or it shouldn't be this way, etc. And maybe that'll get changed for next season as well. I don't know. I just played, okay, yeah, sure, that's the rules. Let's play Singapore, Australia, Singapore. Back when it was Australia only, force Australia every time. If I think it's going to give me a better chance to win and do well, it's in the rules. It's ridiculous to me. I use this analogy on Twitter where someone says, you should be like a good guy, right? Like it makes you a bad guy to abuse this rule. I use the analogy of, if Broodlord Infestor is overpowered, so it gives me an unfair advantage to use Broodlord Infestor in a ZVP, let's say. So I just don't make Broodlord Infestor. Oh, it makes me a nice guy. It makes the match fair. Maybe now it's 50-50 because I'm not making the good. No, of course not. Why would that be allowed? That doesn't make, like, you would not, maybe, no, I'm using the wrong words here. Why would you do that? You should do whatever you can within the rule set to win. That's your job as a player. Then it's the tournament organizer's job to set fair rules. They could have added a section that says, look, admin discretion is final on deciding servers. They didn't do that, so the admins just have to follow the rule book. The rule book has bad rules. Look, ultimately, it should have some kind of like admin discretion. Look, Risky is playing from the UK. It doesn't make sense. This is an Australian qualifier that he's going to fall. All right, I'm going to bring it back as well. Keep in mind also, Risky has worse ping than all of the Australian players, as far as I know, to Singapore. Specifically, anyone that he's played. I have better ping to him than to Singapore than him. Probe does. As far as I know, Seether does. So this is not he's getting a ping advantage. It's he's not getting enough of a ping disadvantage to justify the fact that we're really mad that this guy gets to play in our tournaments. If this was Crimson, who is, I'm not sure, but he might have a UK citizenship. I believe he does, but I'm not sure. He's a similar situation, but he lives in New Zealand. If he was in the UK back visiting family, let's say, and he wanted to play in the tournament and said, hey guys, like, the rules say I can play Singapore, no one would be saying Crimson is a bad guy. Like, that's what's so crazy to me. It's just that these people are so angry about Risky because they don't like Risky. And it's like, guys, relax. This isn't the problem. The problem is the rule set. Now, in terms of, there's been a lot of drama as well about the end of Seether and Risky's game. Where on they've played twice in the tournament. They played in the winners semi-final, and then they played in like the third place. Like, loser gets third, the winner goes to grand finals. I don't know what that would be called, like lower bracket final, I guess is what it is. So Seether won the first match and Risky won the second. So Seether won the first match and typed a lol in the chat at the end of the game, which is great banter, to be honest. I mean, I think that's kind of fucked up, but his logic was he was annoyed at Risky for forcing the Singapore issue, types lol. Risky finds that to be offensive or whatever and kicks up a bit of a fuss about it, saying, you know, you're not a good guy or whatever. Maybe some more choice words than that. Anyway, so these two players, they don't like each other clearly, and Risky already somewhat of an unpopular figure in the scene, so I think a lot of people naturally just take the other side to Risky in everything. But so when they played again, Risky types lol again, and a lot of people feel that this was hypocritical. Like, oh, you said this was unsportsmanlike, etc., etc. How can you go and do the same thing when you beat him the second time? To me, like, if he didn't type lol, I would have been super disappointed. I would have been angry. I would have been like messaging him on Twitter, Risky, what the hell, man? Why didn't you lol him, dude? Like, this was your chance to go get him. You know what? Get him back. Look, to me, it's just banter. Like, this is not the hit. Like, is this seriously what we're going to be like? Oh, Risky's such a bad guy because he called someone out for doing something, but then did it himself, but like back to that same person. Like, it just doesn't, I don't know. Like, I can see where people are coming from when they're mad about that. But to me, I think this is super colored by the history of who this is. And we've had situations like this before, and just keeps going back like, oh, Seether's mad about the servers, so he types lol. Like, I would not support Risky saying that Seether's a bad guy or whatever for typing lol. Like, I wouldn't say this or whatever. I mean, I probably would have told Seether maybe not to say, like, to do that. Like, maybe something a bit more playful, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't really like the full-on heated hatred or whatever that maybe it seems like these guys have, but I don't know. It doesn't seem right to me that, like, it just feels like at every step along the way, something caused it. So Risky was like, I'm going to do what's in my best interest. It's in the rules. Seether blames him instead of the rules, types the lol at the end of the game. Risky, is offended by that. So it's like, Seether's offended about the rules and Risky's offended about him typing lol. Then they play a game again, probably sharing some kind, like, I don't know exactly what's going on between them, but I'm sure it's maybe not lovely. And then he types lol ? At the end, and then Seether goes off on him again, like, wow, like, I can't even micro my units because we're playing on Singapore. Again, keep in mind, Seether most likely does have better ping to Singapore than Risky does. Now that, to be honest, Turn, I feel, does play worse on higher ping than Zerg, but, whatever, more context makes that more interesting. So to put that into exact perspective, Risky says he has about 200 ping to Singapore server, and from what I understand, I mean, I can't actually speak to what ping Seether has, but for me, I have around 110. I've heard other players say they have sub 100. So to me, it shouldn't be, all of us practice on Korea, Taiwan, etc., day in, day out as Australian, New Zealand, etc. players. We're used to playing on higher ping than that. It sucks that we have to play in our own tournament that way, which is why this rule should be changed, because it's a tournament for this region. We should be playing on rules that favor the players living in the region, not players that are living in the UK. Yes, of course. Especially when Southwest Asia doesn't even, it's Southwest Asia is countries to the west of India. So Demi, who's a player from India, he's not Southwest Asia. It's like Pakistan, I guess. Because then at a certain point, the Middle East is in Europe. So there's I'm not even sure which countries are actually in this region, but as far as I know, there's no players in the qualifier playing from that region. Not that should necessarily change the rules, but clearly this is something that should be changed in the rules, but this doesn't make Risky a bad guy or anything like that.